Hey guys, Legion Surf Plasticus here. Today I'm going to talk about one of the most important characters in Warhammer lore. The God Emperor of Mankind! So the Emperor is pretty much the main reason 40k exists. He's super important. So, the God Emperor is extremely important to the Warhammer lore. No one really knows when the guy was born, but it was likely sometime in what we know as the Middle Ages. I mean, there's a theory he's a god who dragged himself from the warp to be like a good guy. The theory he's just a super hench immortal dude due to some madness genetic look. Or you could just put it down to some shamanic blood orgy somewhere in a Turkish cave. I mean, I'll leave that up to you guys. When it comes to what he was up to, in pretty much any real world legends we know of, such as George and the Dragon, you can put the Emperor down as the hero in. Yeah, he literally was George, and fully murked a naughty Necron dragon. Following his exploits in the Middle Ages, the Emperor basically just went around enjoying his life for the next few thousand years. He sat back and chilled as humanity began colonising the stars and developing some pretty cool technology along the way. It's likely that it was during this time he met a good pal, Malcador. Now Malcador was part of some guys called the Sigillites, and to be honest, like the Emperor, he's just as mysterious. On his lovely intergalactic travels through the very depths of hell, the Emperor realised that travelling through hell in a spaceship to meet your pals on another planet is probably not a great idea. So him and his best secret buddy Malcador went on an absolute bender around the galaxy and came back with a ton of knowledge about his nasty dudes called the Four Gods of Chaos. These dudes somehow ate emotion and used it as a power source, but the Chaos Gods were quite evil by this point, because previous idiot races had left super negative vibes for him to eat. So the Emperor's like, bruh, Malcador, let's go. So him and Malcador basically beeline it back to Terra, that's Earth to you and me, and basically just hunkered down, bolstered the defences, and got busy doing what is very likely to be extremely unethical experiments. As this was going on, humanity's empire was essentially being torn apart by a massive AI uprising, constant battles between humans and the aliens they encountered, and super violent warp storms generated by the Chaos Gods, which are probably a bit of a warning to the Emperor to keep his golden boy shiny nose in his own plane of existence. He obviously didn't listen. This time period also made for some super bad vibes, and the Chaos Gods swelled in power due to human misery. The Emperor emerged like 5,000 years after humanity had been torn a new one, and with him he brought his waifu Malcador and hugely muscular super soldiers covered in oil. He found Terra to be an absolute Mad Max wasteland of a place. There'd been some atom bombs dropped in a few places, there wasn't really any oceans, and some idiot techno-lords were playing all the super cool old technology, but no one really knew how to use it anymore. Except the Emperor, because, like, he memorised it or something. Then he was like,
right boys, let's go absolutely sort this galaxy out.
oh, and you know, murder them pesky Chaos Gods. But only Malky knows about that, hee hee. After this, the Emperor murders all the warring techno-states, bans religion, unites terror, kills the Thunder Warriors, his super muscular super soldiers, for being a bit too muscular and oily, plus their rapidly deteriorating mental state. Launched an even better super soldier, the Primarch Project. Each Primarch was taken from the Emperor's very own loins, or gene seed as he called it, and transformed them into little baby demigods, each with a unique aspect of the Emperor's power within them. For each of these demigod Primarchs, the Emperor forged 20 armies, one each, and each army having a diluted aspect of his own power via their Primarch. Unfortunately for the Emperor, the Chaos Gods and the Primarch's mom weren't super happy about the Emperor's plans to use super awesome dudes and their super cool armies to conquer the galaxy and rid humanity of every unthinkable foe. So they teamed up and chucked every baby out of their cots on Terra and into random planets across the galaxy. They also left the Emperor a note next to the cot spaces with a giant dick drawn on it. The Emperor hated the note, and once he scrunched it up, threw it really hard into a fire, cried on Malcador's shoulder, and slept in all of the cots, responded by just deploying his massive armies anyway. God Emperor 1, Chaos Gods 0. Unperturbed by the Chaos Gods' fuckenings, the Emperor then goes about finding all of his little lost babies and instantly footing them at the front of 1,000-strong hosts of super soldiers to fight huge-ass galactic-scale war in the name of the Emperor's new empire, the Imperium. Once the Emperor's happy he's found all of his kids, and the galaxy is pretty much ethnically cleansed of anything non-human, he leaves a clean-up job to one of his favourite sons, Horus. and puts him in charge of all the other Primarchs before heading back to Terra for phase 2 of his little plan. That being, let's pull the Chaos Gods from their smelly little void holes and royally stamp them out. Horus does alright for a while, but then he nearly dies, and the Chaos Gods whisper sweet nothing into his ear about how the Emperor can't save him out here, Daddy doesn't love you, but like, we can totally give you superpowers and make you not dead. So Horus accepts this and gets a few other Primarchs together before launching a huge civil war known as the Horus Heresy. The Emperor, still a bit busy on Terra and still trusting half of his Primarchs, leaves them to sort this out while he carries on phase 2 of Murder of the Chaos Gods, while simultaneously holding closed a warp door within the Imperial Palace, his crib, by sitting on a super machine called the Golden Throne after one of his accidentally nerdy Primarchs punctured reality and a load of demons poured through. Again, and unfortunately for our good boy the Emperor, all of his goody two-shoes Primarchs are too disorganised, and ultimately Horus, super sane by the Chaos Gods, arrives on Terra demanding a 1v1, and the Emperor's like, ugh, fine. They have a really epic duel in which the Emperor tries but doesn't try, but then a soldier saves the Emperor, but actually the chink in Horus's armour from another Primarch is what means the Emperor can win. Oh man, Games Workshop better fix this law in the Siege of Terra series. Anyway, eventually the Emperor kills Horus, but not before being put in a coma by the one-time slave child. He's rushed to the super machine, the Golden Throne, and remains there for the next 10,000 years as a corpse. Well played, Chaos Gods. Well played. But it's not all bad. He's still kind of alive though, and is having like 60 mental warfare with the Chaos Gods as his body sits, likely rusting by this point, in an undead stasis. He powers something called the Astronomicon, which acts like a light beacon through the warp, literal hell, so that ships can safely navigate it and the Imperium itself doesn't crumble like the old humanities empire. After a while, and despite the Emperor technically banning religion, most Imperial citizens begin to think of him as a god, and his goody two-shoes Primarchs are either too dead or too lost to tell people off for it. However, this might actually be working out for him, because like the Chaos Gods, it appears he too can feed off his citizens' faith to boost his own powers. The latest flush from Games Workshop suggests that the very atheist, God Emperor of Mankind, is quite likely a thing, but to be fair, who can blame the guy? He's probably very angry at this point, and his ass bone probably itches, so why not eat your own citizens' faith to throw extra tantrum? So that's kind of where we are now with the Emperor of Mankind. He is kind of a god now. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed my awfully made paint animations. This is a new channel, so if you wouldn't mind just liking and subscribing, it would really help me out, just to figure out what you guys like. If there's anything you want to add to this video, anything you liked, anything you didn't like, please let me know, because as I said, this is still a work in progress. I don't have much money behind me, and I'm doing everything by hand, so any feedback's welcome at this point. And thanks again, guys. Hopefully I'll see you next time. Anything for you, my lords.